InvestaU students! Welcome back to our second lesson of our first class, which is about the foundation and the mechanics of the market. And our instructor for today is Paolo Cruz, also known as Tomatrader. So ano nga ba yung matututunan natin for this lesson? So isa sa i-discuss dito ni Pao are the different comparison of asset classes. So ano nga ba yung mga different assets we can invest in? And following with that is the foundation of stock market. So ano nga ba yung stock market? How does it work? At paano nga ba kumita sa stock market? I-discuss din niya dito yung upside and downside of the market and at how we should learn to manage our risk and do our due diligence. And lastly, i-discuss dito ni Pao are the mechanics of the market. Ito na yung more of a technical side ng stock market and dito na usually nako-confuse yung mga first-time traders and first-time investors. So lahat yan matututunan natin for today. So without further ado, here's Paolo Cruz for our lesson number 2. Happy learning!
Again, everybody, on behalf of the Investagrams team, welcome to InvestaUniversity, no? So as I've mentioned, lesson 2 will be foundation, introduction, lesson 2 will be foundation and market mechanics. So for to set expectations, una papag-usapan ko yung foundation. So foundation, kung ano nga ba yung stock market. Right? And then as we move forward in the latter part, I'm going to talk about the more technical stuff, the more nitty-gritty things, sa market mechanics. Alright, so before we move forward, what I really want to discuss first is the types of investments available. And this is especially targeted to those newbies na nagsisimula pa lang sa market or who saw InvestaUniversity as the avenue for them to finally begin their investing journey. Diba? And, you know, as I've mentioned in a post I made last week sa Investor Group, natin yung exclusive investor group, kung di pa kayo nakasali, you have to join, diba? We're posting content there as well and engaging with you guys. Now, this is really going to be an inclusive program na, kasi pwede naman, nagsimula na kami kaagad sa trading systems, diba? Pero pang advance na yun, we want to make this inclusive na kahit bata pa lang, may gets na, or kahit kung sino ka man o kung saan ka man sa buhay mo, magigets mo. Diba? And of course, for future generations na gusto rin pumasok sa larangan ng stock market, ng investing, they can just go to this program. That's why yung first lesson namin, very basic. Why invest? Basic personal finance. For majority, it was a good refresher. For a few, it was a good lesson na baka di mo pa alam. Diba? We want to make it inclusive and we appreciate na na-appreciate nyo yun kahit a lot of you know that na you were entertained, good vibes tayo lahat, and appreciate namin yung appreciation mo. And sana ma-appreciate nyo na tong first part, and this, especially for the newbies, you have to maybe take notes, diba? So I want to talk about the types of investment. Kasi as we move forward here, we're going to discuss what's the stock market, diba? So mas focus na doon. But before that, there's actually also different kinds of other investments that you should be aware of, diba? Na baka interested kayo gawin. So a few things you have to take into consideration. Number one is, diba, are you a passive investor or are you an active investor? And the only way to know this is you have to know yourself. Busy ka ba? May school ka? May business ka? May trabaho ka, 9 to 5? Or night shift or whatever? Hindi, baka wala kang time. You can't really set aside time kasi you have a lot of other things on your hand. Then maybe you're more of a passive investor. Kung mas may oras ka, kontrolado mo yung oras mo sa trabaho, pwede mo tignan yung investment mo, pwede ka mag-actively trade or kaya mo tignan, etc. Gets yun na yun. Active investor ka, diba? So you just have to know yourself. Next is your risk tolerance. So tatlo na naman yan. Are you conservative or moderate or aggressive? So low risk, medium risk, high risk. Saan ka dun? Usually, pag mas bata ka, you can take more risk, high risk, right? Bakit? Kasi pag bata ka, early 20s, 20, 23, 25, wala ka pang pamilyang pinapabuhay. 'Di ba? In some circumstances wala pa. In some circumstances, we still live with our parents. I'm 20, I still live with my parents, 'di ba? And then wala ka pang batang pinapakain, wala kang mga anak na pinapakain, potentially, tapos wala ka pang batang pinapaaral, yung mga ganun. So wala ka pang super mataas na financial responsibility, you can take more risk. But on the other side of the other spectrum, if you're a parent, 45, 5 anak mo, pinapaaral mo, pinapakaya mo, you have bills to pay, you can't really take a lot of high risk, diba? So baka mas moderate ka na. Tapos kung senior ka na, talagang mas low risk, mas conservative ka talaga. So parang yun yung concept. And of course, you have to know your time horizon. Short term ka lang ba? You want to make quick profit, short term trader, so magiging day trader ka dito, or gusto mo ba medium term na parang 1 year or 3 to 6 to 12 months, di ba? Or long-term investor na more than a year, more than 5, more than maybe a decade or 2 decades, right? So you just have to know. And so I prepared a quick, graph here, very basic. 'Di ba? Na simple lang, hindi ko masyado dinesignan, but if you see here, in this graph, right, or chart, or whatever you call this, there's a basic concept taught in finance, a textbook, right, na the higher the risk, the higher the return. But of course, as we move forward, especially in class 5, class 6, we'll teach you guys how to minimize returns to maximize reward, diba? Basically, minimize the risk to maximize the return, parang para maging asymmetrical yung gain, tapos parang good risk reward ratio. So, ano na yun, mas advanced topics which we'll definitely discuss in detail. So, ngayon, what do you call this? So, ngayon, textbook is yung nga, higher the risk, higher the return. So, let me discuss kung ano nga ba yung laman dito. So, on the lower side of the spectrum, we have what? We have government bonds. And so, government bonds, low risk, low return. Bakit? Actually, almost zero risk kasi fixed return binibigay dito. Pero maliit lang, di ba? So, ano yung concept? If you don't know what government bonds are, basically, it's when, these bonds are issued when the government needs funding for specific endeavors, right? For specific projects. Maybe, God forbid, may nangyari sa isang lugar, kailangan nila na funding, hingi sila sa public, tapos offer na fixed return. So, why can the government offer fixed returns? Diba? It's because yung government, di naman mga bankrupt, hindi siya parang company. So, governments won't get bankrupt kasi GG na yung country mo nun, diba? So, kaya, they have the money to give, right? The assurance, rather, to give fixed returns. But, since low risk, low return lang, diba? So, I think the longest time you can hold bonds is for 30 years. Tapos, meron yan mga 5 years, 7 years, 10 years, ganun. Tapos, mga 4%, 5, 6% binibigay. Tapos, paid on a quarterly basis, I believe. And then after, so let's say for example, kumuha ka ng 5-year government bond, di ba? So, lagay mo yung, di mo na pwede ibenta yun. Nakadikit pera mo dyan for 5 years. And then every quarter, if I believe kung tama yung data ko, they will pay you interest every quarter, di ba? And then, once na pay out na for the next 5 years, ano na? Babalik na yung principal mo after yung tenure, di ba? So, yan. And then the next, if you go a level higher, we have corporate bonds. So, corporate bonds, almost the same as government bonds, but this time, given by corporations. So, your Jollibees, Ayalas, SMs of the world. Diba? So, they give, they allow investors to parang they issue these to investors kasi kailangan nila ng funding. But and same lang to, parang fixed na return din, pero inherently much more risky. Diba? And mas malaki yung returns kasi mas malaki yung risk. Some are risk, well, exaggerated risk, yung baka mabankrupt sila, diba? But yun, that's a step higher, corporate bonds. Then we have preferred shares. So, yung preferred shares, yun yung mga nakikita yung charts yung mga charts na yung bungi-bungi, yung parang illiquid lang siya nangyari, di gumagalaw. Yung mga SMCC 29, yung mga ganun, yung mga weird na names. So, ano yan, pang more passive, long-term-ish investor na parang gusto ng dividend play, kumbaga. Gusto nila ng good dividends. But of course, given na nasa stocks na yun, or na yung shares of the company, it's inherently more risky. Tas mas malaki din yung returns. And then in the final part of the spectrum, we have common stocks. So common stocks, diba, yung usual na sinasabi na on a good year, pwede ka kumita ng 10%, ganun. Kung passive investor ka, na blue chips ini-investan mo in a bull market, so you can make that amount of money. But at the same time, pinakamalaki yung risk dito compared to everything else. Kasi, especially as we already know, we experienced the March 2020 market crash. Stocks can go down really big, more than half the value in a very short period of time. That's why yan yung pinakamalaking risk and pinakamalaking return. And now I want to talk more about other investment vehicles you can invest in. And now, the next two are going to be primarily focused on putting stock, or mostly on stocks, diba? So, mutual funds. I know a majority of us already know this, but it's actually very friendly for beginners or for those who don't really have the time to manage their own investments, right? So, how does a mutual fund work? A mutual fund works, it's offered by mga brokerages, diba? Tapos, it's basically pooling funds from different investors, which is tayo, yung public, to invest in various assets, stocks, bonds, ganun. And then, so basically, yung advantage dito pag busy ka is you actually give your money to a professional fund manager. Tapos, sila na bahala mag-invest sa pera mo. And usually, right, in most cases, in the 30 biggest companies in the Philippines, yung mga blue chip companies. So, ito, yung pag wala kang time, lagay mo sa mutual fund, pero mas passive na siya, and mas long term na dapat yung approach. Pag mag-mutual fund ka, hindi pwede yung 1 year labas, di ba? You really have to hold it for a long period of time. So, ito talaga yung para sa walang oras na gusto mag-invest, na walang time to manage their own investments, right? So, baka may nagtatanong, boss, ano yung difference sa mutual fund sa UITF? Well, actually, they're the same. So, nag-pool ng funds, may professional fund manager, they'll invest or trade it for you. Tapos, meron yan, mga risk tolerance din. Meron yung low risk or meron yung mga conservative na fund, merong mga moderate risk, tapos meron mga aggressive, mga mas high risk naman. So UITF actually works the same, but this time it's handled by banks. So iba yung nag-regulate. So if I'm not mistaken, yung mga mutual funds, yung SEC, tas dito sa UITF, yung mga BSP, di ba? They say kung sino banks pwede magbigay ng UITF. So yun lang. Dito brokerage, dito banks, but inherently 90% of the time they work the same way. Tapos there are actually also other forms of investments, di ba? So ito medyo mas on the active side naman na baka mas moderate to high risk na, di ba? Usually, I don't think there's real estate na low risk unless talagang you buy it in a really cheap place. Marunong ka talaga mag-aral how to value yung real estate. But yeah, real estate is another form of investment you can do. Personally, I have no experience in real estate, but it's something a lot of people do. Yung mga mag-flip ka na lote ng bahay, ganun. Or maghahanap ka na undervalued na lugar, tapos bibenta mo. Or yung mga condominium, di ba? Bibili ka habang hindi pa pinapatayo yung condo, bibili mo na yung unit, bibenta mo kapag natayo na. And then next is opening a business so first opening a business. So opening a business is may negosyo ka. It can be franchising, you can open your own company, di ba? That's active investment. That's medyo high risk na, di ba? It's high risk to open your own business, especially if you're gonna go all in on that. And then / investing in a business. Ito yung parang Shark Tank na. Pero ano na yan, mas complicated na pag-usapan. Basta isipin nyo parang Shark Tank, di ba? Kung napanood nyo yung series na yun. Lastly is investing or trading in other assets. Ito mas high risk na na medyo active na yung mga forex, commodities, indices, cryptocurrency, or bitcoins of the world. Right, so ito yung mga pwede nyo rin gawin, di ba? Especially after you finish this course. I personally trade all of these assets sa global markets. But yung mga ituturo namin ng mga sistema, yung mga ituturo sa technical analysis, sa risk management, trading psychology, trading execution, all of those can actually be applied not only in Philippine stocks but also in other asset classes like the ones mentioned here. So yun, basically these are the other types of investments you can do. So again, very important to know, passive investor ka ba, active investor? Conservative, moderate, or high or aggressive yung risk tolerance mo? Or ano yung time horizon mo? And the other types of investments I've given, if you're a newbie, you can watch this part again, take notes down, and then yun. So that's the type of investments available. Right? Okay. So now, before I go on to discuss, diba, ano nga ba yung stock market? Diba, what I want to do first is a quick comparison of different asset classes or in different assets you can invest in. Diba, kasi karamihan sa atin dito, probably 80-90%, hindi pa yung focus talaga natin is trading Philippine stocks. Now, but before we go on to what is the stock market, let me just give you a quick comparison nga of how the different asset classes are doing. So this is gold. Right, so gold, something you can trade in the global markets, from the year 2000 to 2010 went up 650%. Right, so I'll show you the performance. And then this is silver, another commodity you can invest in from 2000 all the way to 2011. Right, went up 873% naman. Here we have US crude oil naman from 2000 to late 2009 went up 1,206%. Here, I want to show you a chart of the Dow Jones Industrial Average. So, the Dow Jones Industrial Average or the DJIA, basta yung Dow Jones. Ito yung index sa US. One of the major indices in the US. Right? And, I think ginawa ata to parang 1900s, something like early 1900s. Well, basically, this is a chart, diba, showing na from the post-depression era, so around 1933, the Dow at the time was at around 200 or 100 plus, all the way to the 2020 high at around 29,000, close to I think tumama 30,000. So went up 12,486.64%. So grabe inakyat ng stocks, no? But that's over a long period. Parang ano yan? A little bit more, or wait. Yeah, close to a century, no? But now I want to zoom in, no, to what happened from 1990 all the way to the peak in 2018 at around 26,000. So the Dow Jones went up 1,000%. But now, why am I doing this? Because I want to compare it to the Philippines. So the Philippine stock market from the same year, 1990, all the way to the all-time high at peak 2018, the end of a long-term bull market when it reached 9,000, went up from 1990 all the way 2018, 1,589.33%. So actually, mas mataas pa yung inangat natin kaysa sa US stock market in terms of the index. Right? Of course, there's a lot of nuances, like the US has a lot of stocks available. There's mas maraming opportunities doon. But, just to give context na, andito nga, may opportunities talaga sa stock market even dito sa Pilipinas. But the problem is, bakit onti lang nag-i-invest? I'm gonna show you some numbers in a bit. Why is it only a small portion of our population is investing and taking the opportunity, right, to exponentially compound their capital in the stock market? Diba? Here's the number of PSE accounts. So, as of 2019, so I think this was second quarter 2019, around May. Diba? Doon lang natin nabasag yung parang 1 million mark na 1 million na yung nag-i-invest sa investor sa Pilipinas. Diba? And that's roughly around just 1% of our total population of roughly 100 million, diba? So, and now I'm going to compare it naman to other countries. Sorry, di updated, no? One na dapat to. So, if you compare it to domestic investors' participation rate in the stock market around the world, nasa pinaka-lower spectrum tayo. Diba? Australia has around almost half of their population, and tayo, we're just at 1%. And now, even if I zoom it into Asia, right, we're still in the lower spectrum as well. So, dito 0.7, 1 na yan. Natalo lang natin si Kazakhstan. Right? As mentioned in the first lesson, si Kazakhstan, yung tira ni Borat. Yun lang yung natalo natin. While si Malaysia and Jordan, above 5% sila. Alright, so why did I want to show you all of that, diba? I want to show you all of that because I want you guys to understand bakit natin fino-focus yung stock market, diba? And everything we're gonna teach someone moving forward, pagdating sa fundamental analysis, technical analysis, risk management, that can all be applied, diba, in global markets as well. Why are we focusing right now on the stock markets? Because the stock market is actually, in history, of all time, the highest yielding asset class, yung stocks. That's why we're focusing on the stock market. And karamihan sa atin dito, di ba, nag-i-invest tayo sa what? Sa Philippine stock market. Diba? So, okay, di ko na kayo bibitin pa. Without further ado, let's go on, right, to the lesson. Diba? And again, diba, onti lang nag-i-invest sa Pilipinas, onti lang investors, and kaya dito si Investagrams. Kaya natin ginagawa yung InvestaUniversity, kaya tayo nag-start sa pinaka-basic, diba? So we can impact the lives of 10 million Filipinos para makapag-invest na sila so we can be that catalyst for change sa financial side ng buhay. Diba? So, okay. So, ano nga ba yung stock market? Alright, let's get to it. So, guys, to set expectation lang din, diba? I'm going to discuss the stock market in an as easy as possible, diba? Na super understandable, super relatable, madaming analogies na nakakatawa. Diba? Because I really want na magets natin lahat kaagad. Kasi mahirap yung ituturo tas textbook definition or napakahirap na explanation kasi nawawala yung interest kapag ganun, diba? So I'm going to discuss this in a simple way as possible na high value pa rin to everyone. Diba? So basically, diba, ano nga ba yung stock market? It is a market of stocks. Diba? So let's compare it sa palengke. Yung palengke, diba, same thing lang. Ano ginagawa sa palengke? You buy and sell goods. So nagbebenta doon ng gulay, ng chicken, ng meat, ng pork, ng beef, etc. Diba? It's actually, and it's driven by demand and supply. And the same concept actually applies to the stock market where we what? We buy and sell stocks or shares of companies. Diba? So, quick background lang ito. History check lang. Why do stock markets exist in the first place? It's because companies, there are times that they need financing. And without the stock market, diba, where they can, or basically, kasi when they need financing, they can do two things, right? They can go into debt and loan, or they can give out equity to private investors, or maybe more to the public. So that's why I'll explain this more in a future slide. Kaya may stock market para, diba, to address the needs of financing of companies, right? So now, eto, let me give you an example. So si Jollibee. So I'm sure marami sa atin paborito ang Jollibee. And lahat tayo nakakain na dito. Siguro hindi kumpleto yung buhay mo as a Pilipino kung hindi ka pa nakakain sa Jollibee, di ba? So from a personal standpoint, right, yung favorite kong pagkain sa Jollibee, yung burger. Especially nung may pasok pa, di ba, nung wala pa yung COVID, and nung estudyante pa lang ako. Right, yung favorite ko bilhin yung burger. Bakit? Kasi titipid ako 33 pesos, bili ka tatlo, 99 lang, bigay ka 100, may sukli ka pang piso, tapos solid, busog ka na. Diba? So, I'm sure, like, everyone here, diba, mahilig tayo sa Jollibee, but I'm sure a lot of you, or a good amount, nag-isip na kayo, diba, na, ano ba yan, lagi ako gumagastos sa Jollibee, lagi ako kumakain dun. Is there a way kaya na instead of always spending, pwede pa ako kumita sa Jollibee? Diba? And the number one answer to that concern is, what will you do? You will franchise. But, the cost of opening up a franchise of Jollibee depending on different variables, will range around 23 to 42 million pesos. Diba? Not a lot of us, diba, have that money on hand. So parang grabe ang mahal. Is there any other way pa ba na pwede ako kumita sa Jollibee? Guys, dyan na po pasok, and that's the problem or concern solved by the stock market. So now I want you to imagine Jollibee. Diba? So the whole company, imagine it as one whole pizza. And now, through the stock market, tayo, the public, we have an opportunity to take a slice out of the company, to take a slice out of Jollibee, to have portions of that company, and make money if Jollibee makes money or if the value, diba, of the stock goes up. Diba? So through the stock market, technically, we can be part owners, quote unquote, of Jollibee. And how much is one share of Jollibee as of I made the slides August 4. It was at around 100, excuse the meme, no? 126 pesos. Diba? So can you imagine, parang 126 pesos, part owner ka ng Jollibee. Diba? Technically. But of course, guys, meron yung lot size rule. I'll explain it later in market mechanics. So, it doesn't really cost just 126 pesos. You have to buy a minimum of, I think, 50 shares or something. So, parang nasa 5,000, 3,000 yung minimum. I'll explain all that later. But, just one share of Jollibee costs 126 pesos. Diba? Parang apat na yung burger na yun, diba? So, I'll show you a chart of Jollibee. And if you invested in Jollibee, not even at 1990s, even let's say here, at the 2007 high before the market crashed 2008, so that was at around 50 pesos, right? And you sold it, diba? All sa 2018 peak, right? At around 325. I don't think that was the all-time high, pero yan yung peak ng bull market. Diba? It went up 500% in around 10 years, almost 500%. And no bank savings account, right, time deposit will ever offer you or give you a return of 500% in a decade. So now, through the stock market, as I mentioned, we have an opportunity to be part owners of some of the biggest companies in the Philippines. So your Globes of the world, your BDOs of the world, your Ayalas, your San Miguel's, Meralco, Bloomberry Resorts Corporation, Globe, PLDT. So madami. Big companies, you name it. We have an opportunity to take part in their growth through the stock market. So now in the first place, why do these companies, again, sell their shares to the public? So discuss ko na kanina, kasi need financing. Kailangan nila ng capital, ng pera. Bakit? Well, possibly because maybe they want to expand abroad. Let's say, for example, Jollibee wants to open 100 branches in Europe and the US. Or maybe not 100, 1,000. Diba? So, they need financing. Diba? They need capital. So, they can pwede nila ibenta yung shares nila sa stock market. Diba? Or maybe there's a mall that wants to open up a lot of new establishments in the Philippines, diba? Something like that. So, they need capital. Kaya sila po pasok sa stock market. So, what's the term, diba? Kapag papasok yung isang company sa stock market, pag magiging listed company sila, they go through an IPO or initial public offering. So, basically, ito yung parang first time na pwede mo bilhin, no, yung stock as a member of, the public. Ba kaya lagi natin narinig na, uy, IPO, yan na, mag-IPO na si ganto. Because that means the stock or the company is finally gonna get listed in the stock market. Yun yung parang IPO, kumbaga. And so now, ito yung important, right? How do we make money sa stock market? How do we make money? There's really two ways, right, to make money. Number one is through dividends. So dividends is basically parang the company will give portions of their profits to the shareholders on a quarterly, mostly in a quarterly basis. Minsan may bonuses na may malaking bonus semi-annually or maybe monthly, ganyan. But mostly talagang, most cases quarterly. So basically, ganito lang yan. Let's say for example lang to, Jollibee gives out a 1 peso dividend per share every quarter. And so how do you make money off of that? Let's say you own 10,000 shares of Jollibee. That is a 1 peso dividend per share. So every quarter, for every share you have, you get 1 peso. So how many yun? 10,000 times 1, you get 10,000 pesos. So if meron kang 500,000, diba, shares of Jollibee, right, tapos yung dividend, 1 piso per share, di 500,000 pesos per quarter, diba? So parang ganun siya yung concept. Right? So, and the more common way really, right, is through price appreciation. So how does this work? Diba? So here we have a little flow chart. So let's say may pera ka and you bought a stock, diba, worth $1,000 or 1,000 pesos worth of stock. And then yung presyo ng stock mo umakyat. Tapos nabenta mo 100% gain. Yan, 2,000 na yung value ng shares mo, tapos binenta mo, di double na yung pera mo. Let me give you a much better example than that. Let's say you're buying and selling shoes, diba? Let's use that example. Let's say nag-resell ka ng sapatos. It's actually the same thing. Diba? Let's say you bought the pair of shoes at 4,000 pesos. And then how do you want to sell it? You want to sell it pag umakyat, diba? So you want to sell it at 8,000 pesos, at 10,000 pesos, right? So you want to buy low, or you want to buy, diba, the shoes and sell it at a price higher than you bought it. It's the same thing with the stock market. You want to buy shares of a company and then sell it at a price higher than you bought it. You want to buy low and you want to sell high. You want to buy it at 50 pesos per share, then sell it at 80 pesos per share. You want to buy it at 10 pesos per share, then sell it at 20 pesos per share. Ganoon lang yan. Buy high, buy low, sell high. Or basta pagkabili mo, sell it at a price higher than you bought it. But word of caution, di ba? Hindi, not all, di ba? Like I mentioned na dun sa first lesson, not all investments go up, no? But anyway, let's move. Basically, yan yung concept. That's price appreciation. Pag umakit yung value na stock na hawak mo. So now, why should you invest? Diba? So we discussed this in detail, no, nung lesson 1. And I'm not gonna mention na everything again, no, but mostly for me, you should invest aside from all the reasons of compounding your capital, of exponential growth, of beating inflation, of capital preservation, is really to take advantage of the opportunities, diba? And exponentially compound your capital. Ika nga sabi nila, stock market is the ultimate equalizer of wealth. Diba? That's the potential to really help you achieve your financial goals. And here I have a chart. This is created by ito si Lineman. So guys, I really suggest you follow this Lineman on Investagrams. I follow him. I've been following him since I started trading. He posts data like this. So Lineman, boss, if any of your friends are watching this or if you're watching this, huge shout out to you. You provide huge value to the community. Maraming salamat sa'yo. So we post stuff like this. So ano makikita natin dito? So this is the data as of, I think this was June 22 or July 22. No, this is June 22 or 23. So why am I showing you this? This shows some of the best performing stocks in the market. And note, nung March, we had one of the biggest market crashes ever. That's in the context of the Philippines, it was the biggest one-day drop no March 15 ata yun. Right? And despite the market crashing, I'm sure a lot of us know that, I'm just here to show you na may opportunities pa rin. Here are some of the market leaders no June, di ba? Ito, year to date, we have, ito si IPO, tumaas 200%. We have MAH, 100% umakit. And guys, note ha, nagka-market crash na ito, si Tech, 116 umakit. Ito, year to date, meaning from January all the way to June 22. Diba? And then ito, PLDT, si Tel, diba? Blue chip, umakyat 26%, diba? And then, if we go to month to date, we have ito, June 23. So, from June 1 to June 23, si Dito umakyat 64%. Si Mac umakyat almost 50%. The rest, so on and so forth. Ito, week to date lang. From Monday to whatever day, June 23 was PXP umakyat 32%, 25%, APX 15%. So, the reason why you should invest is so you can take advantage of opportunities like this. But don't let this opportunity go to waste. Alright, so again, shout out to your Lineman. Thank you for posting stuff like that. And now, for the next few slides, I'm not going to hype you guys, but I just want to show you guys some real things that happened in the stock market in the past 2 years. Some of the biggest winners. And so, for example, here we have ISM. Now it's called, the stock's name Ditto. Alright, so si Ditto, in a week, umakyat ng 162%. Of course, may catalyst to and everything. But basically, parang double your money in 1 week. Sounds like a scam, no? Na parang, uy, pare, ito, dito, lagay ka pera dito, 1 week, double your money. But actually, this is fact. This actually happened, di ba? Here we have nickel. Natagal lang ka sa 3 days. Ito, in 3 days, halos 100% na rin inakyat. So, grabe talaga yung opportunities dito. Ito, my favorite example, we have Haven. So, Haven, in basically 23 days, went up 2,000%. Almost. 1,800. So, roughly 2,000%. Ulitin ko lang ha. I'll give a short pause para ma-digest nyo yung sinabi ko. 1,879.62% in less than 1 month, mga pare. Less than 1 month, almost 2,000% yung inakyat. Yan yung opportunities na available sa stock market. But, note, yung mga sinabi kong mga plays na yan, mga stocks na umakyat ng ganyan, lalo na tong Haven, ito, once in a lifetime opportunity. They will happen all the time. In a good market, they can probably happen 10 times. Mga 10 times, yung mga 100%. Tapos in a bad market, probably 2 to 5, or kung swerte ka, may 5, yeah, pwede. But of course, diba, so I showed you guys, ito yun nga, the stock market is the ultimate equalizer of wealth, but actually, the stock market is also a double-edged sword. So I just want to show you, this is not an updated chart. So the chart here was late 2019, no? But same thing applies. The price right now is at around 1.8, close to 2,000. But anyway, here's something I want to show you guys. Not about 1.8 na. Nalimutan ko. Anyway, here's a chart of one of the biggest companies in the Philippines. This is PLDT or TEL. And from 2015 all the way to around 2019, or halos close to 2020, the stock was down 70%. So why am I showing you this? I'm showing you this because I want to emphasize that the stock market hindi araw-araw Pasko. Hindi araw-araw Pasko, hindi araw-araw kita. May times talaga, like I said, na not all investments go up, 'di ba? And talagang one thing I want to address there, which I will expound more later, is the concept of what you call blindly investing. 'Di ba? So basically, yung usual kasi, yung mga usual na basic stock market seminar, yung tinuturo kasi is, yung portion ng pera mo, let's say 10% or 5%, 10% ng sweldo mo, i-put aside mo, put it in a stock, tas investan mo lang, 'di ba? Paano pumili ng stock? Ito, yung alam mo lang, yung hindi mababankrupt. And hold it for the long term. Now, here's a chart of PLDT. PLDT, one of the biggest companies in the Philippines, hindi sobrang labo na bankrupt siya anytime soon. And for the past 5 years, you started investing in around late 2014 at around 3,400 pesos per share for 5 years. No, as of kung hinawakan mo lang all the way to 2019 or late 2019, early 2020, you would have been down 70%. Kung naglagay ka ng 100k, 30k na lang yung value ng investment mo. Diba? So, bakit ganun? It's something I'm going to discuss more later. But basically, yung concept na yan, yung blindly investing, for me, that's what you call conventional wisdom. And for me, it loses a star for that. Right? And guys, I'm not bashing long-term investing. Kasi as we move on dito, lalo na sa class 5, we're also going to be teaching long-term investing strategies na back-tested. Right? Or back-tested meaning na test na namin in previous market environments. So, I'm not bashing that. I'm bashing yung blindly investing, kung yung investment process mo is to simply buy a stock and hold it forever. To hold it forever. Tapos, binili mo lang because it's a company you know and wala ka na ibang homework na ginawa and you expect to make millions. I highly doubt nakikita ka sa larangan ng trading or investing. I'll discuss more on that later. But again, I just want to show you guys, same thing here. We have CHP Cemex Holdings. Diba? Down 92% from the IPO in 3 years. Kung nag-invest ka ng IPO, basically na wipe out ka na. Another company, ito si X. Ito yung parang tech company of the Philippines dapat or whatever, from the high at 20 pesos noong late 2016 or mid 2016. Down 97%. Ngayon, penny stock na lang siya. But so again, the market is a double-edged sword. Diba? Kaya kailangan ng risk management, which will be tackled in class 6. So, hindi araw-araw Pasko sa market. It can give you as much money as you want and it can take away as fast as that. But kaya kailangan, siyempre, you have to do your homework, you have to study. And kaya dito si InvestaUniversity, di ba? So now I just want to talk about, di ba, what happened last March to further talk about what I'm talking about right now. So last March, you all know, ito, dadaanan ko lang real quick. March 2020, nagka-market crash because of COVID. Right, so the US, again, this is the Dow Jones, it went down 37% in I think 23, 24 days. So sobrang bilis. Napalaki niya na. Yung kapag index, tapos 37% nilaglag, malaki yun. And then sa Philippines naman, from the peak nung 2019, nung 9,000 high, we're down 55%. And in just a few weeks, I think in just a week, diba, after it broke below this horizontal line, when price went below that, we went down as low as 41%. If we zoom in closer and we take a look at the day the market crashed talaga, diba, nag-crash sa COVID, and then dito, ito yung grabe. Diba? We experienced the biggest one-day drop in the Philippine stock market history since 1987, October Black Monday. Black Monday crash. Diba? And we went down 24%. Guys, in one day. 24% in one day bagsak sa stock. Malaking bagay yun. Paano pa kaya sa buong stock exchange natin? Diba? And we hit double circuit breakers. I won't discuss that na. Basta sobrang historical. Saan doon ako? Parang andun ako sa kama ko, pinapanood ko. Tapos, kumita ata ako dyan na onte para nasalo ko yung bounce. But anyway, so grabe, no? Right? Kaya kailangan important yung risk management. I'm just showing that para as we move on to class 6. Right? Okay, next slide. And here, actually, diba, from the peak, again, we went down 55%. Diba? Tapos, so why am I discussing all this? As you can see, umabot tayo sa 4,000 levels. Diba? Kaya, and we haven't reached 4,000 levels at the time no March since 2012. So parang yung logic dyan, all gains since 2012, kinain sa isang linggo. Yung 8 years na inakyat, kinain lang sa isang linggo. Diba? Or majority na inakyat, kinain na isang linggo. And now, why am I talking about all of this? It's not to scare anyone, no? I'm just talking about, ito yung reality na we're facing. Diba? And what I want to address again is yung concept ng blindly investing because I don't want to ingrain that to you again. And I'm gonna explain it right now. I'm not talking about long-term investing. Long-term investing is amazing, especially if busy ka, wala kang time. We're gonna teach you strategies on that if that's your profile as a trader or investor in class 6, di ba? Kasi syempre kung nag-long-term invest ka sa Jollibee noong 2010, bili ka dito, tas genius ka na, benta mo sa 300, edi halos 1,000, ewan ko, mga 800% gain. Di solid, long-term yun, isang dekada. Diba? And I'm sure the people who were able to do that were people who did their homework and had strategies. But here's what I want to talk about lang. So basically, let's say wala ka lang alam. Diba? You're just holding on. You just bought Jollibee in 2012 at 100 pesos per share. Tapos yun, nagdagay ka lang ng 100k mo dyan. So umakyat siya all the way 300, ang saya mo. And then boom, binagsak. Diba? After holding it for about 8 years, almost a decade, parang nabalik ka lang sa break even. Diba? So yan, can you reality ng market, that can really happen. Tapos di mo lang kung ba't bumagsak ka yan kasi your entire investment process was bili lang ako ng bili na share sa Jollibee. Tapos yung concept kasi diba is, ito, bili ka lang 5,000, lagay ka ng 5,000 pesos every month. So let's say for example, ginawa mo yun. Tawag dyan peso cost averaging, diba? So again, okay lang yun gawin pag long-term investing, but there's a little bit more to it than just buying, diba? Yung company na porket alam mo, porket lagi ka kumakain sa Jollibee, there has to be some strategy into it, which again, we'll teach later. So let's say, ginawa mo, sige, nag-buy on, binili mo, nag-add ka ng 5,000 dito, nag-add ka ng 5,000 dito, bili ka na ng bili. So what happens is actually the value of your investment also goes up. Bakit? Kasi you keep buying more shares at higher prices. So now, instead of the value of your investment being at 100 pesos per share, baka nandito na, kakabili mo paakyat, nandito na sa mga 175. So mangyayari yan, pag yung value na shares mo sa 175 pesos, naging loss ka pa nung bumagsak yung market. Diba? So now, what is even worse? What's worse is if you went to the market, diba, with this mindset of long-term investing, blah, 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 imagine, okay lang yan if, sige, okay lang yan, noong 2010 mo ginawa, bull market eh. Long-term investing works in specific cycles of the market. But imagine if you did that dito sa 300 pesos, nagbigin ka mag long-term investing. Tapos, bili ka lang ng bili. Diba? Bili ka lang ng bili habang mabagsak, alaki na ng loss mo. Diba? Kaya it's really not just swerte yung mga tao na kung nag-blind invest, di ba, dito sa 2010 or after 2008, tapos binenta at any moment after that. Kasi bull run tayo nun eh. But imagine if you started doing that dito sa 2019, GG ka nun kasi ang laki na binagsak. From T25, nag-100. More than 50% down ka na ngayon. Same thing, ito lang, same thing with Ali. Again, if you began investing 2012, halos sa break-even ka lang, di ba? So, grabe, yan yung talagang nangyari nung March, no? So, down 63% from the high noong 2019. So, again, why am I trying to show you this? Not to scare anyone, just show the reality. And this is my favorite example, show everyone of why it's not enough simply to invest in a company just because you know it, just because tropa mo, trabaho dun, mahal yung malaki sweldo niya, or just because it's one of the biggest companies in the Philippines. Here's San Miguel Corporation, one of the biggest companies in the Philippines. And from 2011 to 2016, what happened? It went down 70%. Diba? And now, I'm going to give a hypothetical. So, mamaya na pala yun. So, let's say, diba? If you started investing in 2011, tuk-tuk, for sake of argument, for sake of example, tapos, diba, long term, and let's say, di mo na ginawa yung peso cost averaging, di ka na bumili ulit, wala lang, andyan ka lang. Binili mo lang doon, sinawakan mo lang, diba? 6-7 years mo na hinawakan. Lost ka 70%. Di nga 70 eh, 77% niya eh. Is it 6-7 years long-term enough? Can you stomach in the fact na your 100k, if you put 100k at that time, is now just worth 30,000 pesos? Diba? And if we look down here, and now, I want you guys to take a look at this. Look down here at this portion, no? At this portion, and I'm going to show you the continuation of SMC chart, of the chart of San Miguel. Yung San Miguel naman, from 2016 to 2019, umakyat ng 339%. So imagine, if you began investing here, solid yung akyat. So now, yung reason kung ba't merong InvestaUniversity is to teach you guys to avoid yung mga ganito. Ba't tayo magpa-participate sa ganito? Siyempre, you want to be here. Ang tawag dito, downtrending stock. We want to be in uptrending stock kasi the only way to make money in the market, again, is to buy low, sell high, or buy and sell at a price higher than you bought it. The only way to make money is when the price goes up. And as you can see here, from 2016 to 2019, 300% yung inakit niya. But note that this chart happened during one of the biggest bull runs ever. So, ganun kalala. And now, let's take our hypothetical investor who invested dito. Diba? So, what happened to him now na umakit ng 300%? What happened to him is finally, after almost a decade, 9 long years, break-even na siya. So, hinawakan niya, 10 years, sobrang long term na yun for me. Tapos, wala siyang kinita. Nag-break-even lang siya. Yes, break-even na. Tapos, ito yung maganda. Kumita pa siya 4%. So, kumita siya 4,000 pesos dun sa 100,000 niya. After a few weeks, what happened? The market crashed. So, down na ulit siya 62% or around 50% kasi umakit na noon si SMC. So, what I'm trying to show you guys here is just the reality, no? Na yung concept of blindly investing is not enough. Right? We need to learn better long-term investing strategies. You have to do your homework. You have to know a little fundamental analysis, a little bit of technical analysis, di ba? Para maging mas successful yung operation mo pagdating sa long-term investing. Kasi counter to long-term investing tong 3 years para sa akin. Let's say, nakabili ka dyan, hawakan mo, tapos may mga sell signals ka pag bumagsak para at least maprotektahan mo yung capital mo tsaka yung profit mo. Tsaka ma-avoid natin yung mga ganito.
InvestaUniversity is an open U for you. Kaya, we made the enrollment super easy. Bilang ka lang ng 1, 2, 3. 1. Subscribe to our YouTube channel. All InvestaU videos will be uploaded here and also in InvestaLearn. 2. Like and follow our Facebook account. 3. Join our exclusive Investa group. I-search mo lang ang InvestaUniversity group in our platform. Then click Join. Read our short love letter for you and click Agree. Ngayon, estudyante ka na ng InvestaU. Ganun lang. Super dali.
Diba? And another thing I want to discuss lang is, it is debunking the long-term argument, diba? So basically, parang cool lang din tignan to further emphasize kung bakit kailangan may strategy tayo. Hindi lang pwede yung blindly investing. It's because, diba, this is a study made by Mark Minervini, one of the greatest traders of our lifetime. Diba, done in the year 2000. Na tinignan niya, lahat, for the past 80 years, lahat ng market leaders or basically lahat ng malalakas na stocks sa US. So, lahat ng malalakas na stocks in the strongest sectors, in the strongest market, in the strongest economy in the world, the US. But so, what happened? His discovery was, number one, 80% of the time, there's an 80% chance that market leaders will drop 50%. So, may 80% na chance na yung mga malalakas na stock babagsak na 50% kapag nag-market top na. Kapag nag-top tas bumagsak. And there's a 50% chance, number two, there's a 50% chance na itong mga malulupit na stocks na to will drop 80% after it makes a top. So, let me show you guys an example. Well, this is General Electric, one of the stocks in the US, di ba? So, General Electric from the year 2000, nung market top niya, ito yung ka-level nito, yung mga PLDT, yung mga Globe, yung mga Meralco, yung mga big companies dito, ka-level niya to. Di ba? What happened? From the year 2000 all the way to 2020, it's down roughly 90%. Basically, wipe out ka na. Diba? And for 20 years, let's say, ginawa mo yung, alam ko tong kumpanya to, tropa ko nagkatrabaho dyan, mataas sweldo, it's one of the biggest companies, hindi ma-bankrupt ko. Yun lang yung logic mo sa pag-i-invest mo, yun lang yung strategy mo. Look what would have happened to you if you did that to General Electric in the year 2000. Diba? Even if nagka-rally dito, itong bull run, diba? From $2, umakyat $30. Paano pag dito ka pa lang sa $50? Hindi ka pa break even. And right now, since the market crashed ulit, you're still wiped out, basically. So that's just something I want to emphasize again, na blindly investing, pass tayo dyan, mga boss. And that's why we're going to teach you guys mga strategies na pang short term, medium term, and long term. More examples, Cisco System, one of the biggest winners sa US nung year 2000. From the peak, went all the way down 91% in 1 year. Tapos, as of late, sa recent 2020 market, down ka pa rin 42% after 20 years. So ito lang gusto pa ito. Citigroup, di ba? Bagsak pa rin. Then to, natuwa lang ako. Crocs, di ba? Same thing. A big winner noong 2007, di ba? Then bumagsak 97%. Right? And then let's say, long term ko na lang yan. Peso, mag-average down na lang ako. Hawakan ko na lang. Antayin ko mag-break even. Ano naman, yung anak ko nagsusuot ng Crocs, maganda naman yung benta nila. And as of 2020, wala. Down ka pa rin, 50%. So this is why, so guys, basically, yun na yung stock market diba? Everything I just discussed, diba? Yun yung stock market. There's an opportunity for us to make money, diba? Especially if we do our homework, if we learn a few strategies here and there, if we know who we are, diba? Even if hindi tayo short-term trader, long-term investor, with the right strategy, which we'll teach in class 5, diba? We can take advantage of the opportunities. And through learning risk management in class 6, we can avoid yung pinakita ko bumabagsak na stocks, we can avoid that. Even if, let's say, bumili ka sa Crocs dito, hindi mo mahahawakan yan. Through risk management, mamibenta natin yan, mami-minimize natin yung losses natin. Diba? So that's why, full out tayo sa InvestaUniversity. So kung gusto ko mag-trade na stock market, kaya dito si Investagrams, diba? That's why we upload free learning videos, diba? On YouTube. We have daming free dyan, dami mo matututunan, daming free content dyan. That's why if you're not a video type of learning, we have Invest Daily where we provide high value written content, mga articles. And that's why we eventually created InvestaUniversity kasi we wanted, diba, gusto namin kompleto na eh. You want it in one platform, in one program, na we're gonna teach everything na for free. Pwedeng libre to. You don't have to pay anything, diba? And all of the video modules, this video and all future videos will be forever uploaded on our YouTube channel, on our Facebook page. So, andyan na lahat. And it's because we want to impact the lives of millions of Filipinos. That's why we're doing this, right? Alright, let's move forward. So now, teka, painom lang ako ng water. Teka. Napapaos ako kagad eh. So now, quick recap before we move on to part 2. Right, so, di ba, na-discuss ko na, ano nga ba yung stock market, di ba? It's the highest yielding asset class yung stocks over in history, right? And then, ano pa ba? I discussed ano nga ba yung stock market, ba't siya ginawa, paano siya gumagana, how do we make money, why should we invest to take advantage of the opportunities. But I really meant to not only show you guys the good side. Siyempre, kung bull market, yes, totoo yan talaga. We can make a lot of money. You know a lot of people who made a lot of money in the stock market. But, I don't want to just show you guys, diba, the good side. Meron din yung double-edged sword na may bad side, which I showed you guys, which is potential for big losses. Then, that's why, we should avoid, number 1, blindly investing, and number 2, we should apply risk management, which will be taught in class 6, and we should do our homework. Diba? We should have a basic strategy, diba? And strategies and systems and setups will be discussed in class 5. So now let's move on to the more nitty-gritty stuff. Let's talk about the market mechanics sa stock market natin dito sa Pilipinas. So I'm gonna answer a few common questions and common things that confuse people, especially when you're just starting out in the stock market. Yung mga numbers, blah, blah, blah. So quick background, ano nga ba yung Philippine Stock Exchange? So discuss ko na, no? It's one of the oldest stock exchanges sa Asia. As kita dito, 1927 pa lang nag-ooperate na. And ano yung Philippine Stock Exchange Index naman? So magkaiba yan yung PSE at PSEI. Right, so yung PSEI, yan yung composition of the 30 most, of the largest and the most active common stocks listed in the PSE. So ito na yung mga blue chips mo, kumbaga. Yung mga SM, SMPH, Ayala Land, Ayala Corporation, Meralco, BDO, etc. So again, ito yung composition niya. So same picture na pinakita ko kanina. So quick overview lang, parang ito, very basic paano gumagana siya. So a company, 'di ba, mag-IPO siya, mag-list siya sa Philippine Stock Exchange, and then through our brokers, 'di ba? Now we can buy and sell yung mga shares, 'di ba? So yan. Cute infographic lang. And now the common question is, especially kung hindi ka pagsisimula, of course, is how do I start? Let's say virtual trading ka pa lang, you trade on Investagrams or you try to invest virtually sa Investagrams. So how do you start trading with real money or investing with real money? So of course, ito yung process. So you need to know what a broker is, right? You need to choose your broker, you need to open an account with the broker, submit requirements, make deposit, then you can trade. So what's a stockbroker? So basically, ano lang yan? Parang yan yung middleman mo. So you can buy and sell stocks. Dati tao yan, parang tatawagan mo, parang, uy pare, buy me, boss, pabili naman ako 500 shares of Ayala Land. Ngayon, it's ano lang yan, online na lang lahat. And I'm sure majority of us, if nag-trade na tayo, 95% of us siguro online na, no? So what are some of the brokerages available? Diba? Or yung mga brokers sa Philippines. These are just some of the many brokerages in the Philippines. You have all of these, and then Investatrade, syempre, wala pa to ngayon, no? Hindi pa kami broker, pero ang tabayanan nyo. No, exciting to. Let's see, sa future, di ba? Kung di ka pa nag-start, tapos mag-start ka na, pwedeng Investatrade sa future pag open na. And ano yung usual requirements? Ito, nilista ko lang, di ko nababasahin. These are some of the usual requirements na kailangan. And then, how do you submit it, diba? So, pwedeng print mo, tas idala mo sa brokerage office, pero yung nga, COVID tayo ngayon, so a lot of them actually now have online account opening. So, fill up mo yung form online, submit mo, then may video call process yan just to confirm your identity, tsaka to confirm na totoong tao ka. Diba? Yun yung process. Magkano yung initial deposit? It will depend, ranges from basically 0 to 100,000, depends on the broker. So, if may ma-recommenda ba kami, how much would the initial deposit be? It will be probably between 25 to 100,000 pesos. Ako personally, I started with 30,000 pesos of my savings. And ano lang, yung style ko dyan, I bought 3 stocks, tagta 10,000. Para at least diversified pa rin ako. And 30,000, para ramdam ko pag nagka-loss. Totoong pera na kasi. So ako 30,000. If anyone asks me, I think the sweet spot for just starting out is between 25, well, pas trip ko talaga sabihin 30,000. Para 3 stocks, tagta 10,000. So now let's move on to mga frequently asked questions, no? Yung mga common things that confuse people. Wait lang ah. Wow na ako at sobra. Please bear with me guys, my throat gets really dry easily, especially when I talk very enthusiastically like this. So first, what time does the stock market operate, no? So stock market operates, ito yung normal stock market schedule, no? Pre-COVID. So 9:30 yung pre-open. So basically open siya 9:30 to 3:30 p.m. So 6 hours, di ba? 1/4 ng araw. But since COVID started, nagbago na yung schedule. So now it's at 9:30 to 1 p.m. Wala nang lunch break. Dati kasi may lunch break na 12, may lunch break na 12 noon to 1:30 p.m. Isa't kalahating oras. So ngayon, walang lunch break. So tuloy-tuloy lang yan from 9:30 to 1 p.m. So half day na lang. Now, let's talk about lot sizes. Ito ang haba na yung explanation, no? But basically, parang it tells you how many shares you can buy and at what increments. Kasi mahirap hindi kasi pwede yung bibili ka ng shares na, ito, I want to buy Jollibee shares, I want to buy 9 shares, or 28 shares, or 58 shares, 51 shares, 143 shares. Mahirap kasi yun eh. So, masyadong tedious yun. So, talagang merong lot size na rule, no? Which is this one. So, yung sabi ko kanina na si Jollibee, 126 pesos, di ba? It's actually a minimum amount of shares you need to buy. So, dito, nakalagay dito, if the price of the stock is 52,999, you have to buy a minimum of 10 shares. And so, you have to buy a minimum of 10 shares. Tapos yun lang. So, if the cheaper the stock, di ba, the more shares you need to buy. So, kung penny stock yan, di ba, kung centavo stock, di ba, dito, you need to buy like, di ba? You need to buy 1,000 shares, 10,000 shares, diba? So the more expensive it gets, the less you have to buy. For example, si Globe, nasa 2,000 pesos per share. So you only need to buy a minimum of 5 shares. So parang yun lang yung logic. So here to show you an example, we have TUG. So 2.84 yung presyo. So ilang shares minimum sa 2.84? Ito, from 0.5 to 4.99, 1,000. So as you can see here, divisible by 1,000, yung shares, diba? Ito yung mga shares na binibili ng mga tao. Yan yung parang transaction. Alright, so now, ito na yung medyo nakakalitong part. No, yung bid and ask. So I'll do my best, no, to explain this as simple as possible. Pero you really learn how this works more by investing and doing it talaga and experiencing how to read it. So basically, yung bid and ask, makikita mo dyan, yung the amount of buyers and sellers who want to transact at any price. Okay, medyo complicated pag-explain ko. So, let's just go to, let's narrow it down. Let's focus, okay. Let's take a look at the photo. Diba? So, let's focus, muna. One column each. Just focus on this bid side. Ano ba yung nakikita natin dito? On the bid side, we can see here yung buyers. Yung buyers, nakapila yan sa bid. Diba? And now, let's zoom in to this one row. Diba? So, we see ito, may presyo, 1.90, may numbers, ganyan. So, what does this represent? This means, again, the bid represents the buyers, the demand. This means at 1.90 pesos per share, there are 13 people willing to buy a total of 455,000 shares of that specific stock. So, basically, parang ano yan? So again, yung 455,000 shares na yan, di lang isang tao yan, 13 yan, parang pinag-combine, pinag-add. So pwede nga ano yan eh, may isang tao, 50,000 shares, may isang tao, 10,000 shares. So yung total niyan, 455,000 at 1.90, same goes sa ibaba. Now sa ask side, dyan naman yung sellers, ito yung supply, diba? Yung supply, yung gusto magbenta. So now, let's take a look, let's zoom in naman dito sa third na lang. Now, basically, this says that there are two people willing to share 103,000 shares at 1.93 pesos per share. Diba? So, basically yan, sa 1.93, merong 103 shares na nakapila doon, tapos dalawang tao yung gusto magbenta. That's how you read it. Tapos, kung mas advanced trader ka na, you can also use it as a way to identify support and resistance levels, diba? So I won't dwell deep into this kasi mas technical na. But if you've been in the market for at least 3 months, you would understand this. So pwede rin itong gamitin as a basis for your support and resistance plotting in the short term for the day. So now really, okay. So now what I want to address lang is okay for let's say may big account ka. So kasi kung smaller trader ka, let's say 1 million or less, 'di ba? Hindi masyadong relevant tong bid and ask sa volume side, no? For you when you try to buy the amount of shares you want to buy. Diba? As you can see kasi dito, yan eh, if you have a bigger account kasi, let's say 5M pataas, talagang titignan mo na mabuti yung amount of shares available for buying. Bale dito, if you're a buyer, pwede kang, instead of pumili ka dito, pwede mo na kaagad bilhin yung mga shares available na binibenta ng mga tao. So say for example, you want to buy, kasi again, these are actual transactions, diba? And if you want to buy 500,000 shares of this stock, diba? Syempre, mabibili mo yan lahat sa 12.94 kasi 500,000 na yung available eh. But let's say you want to buy 5 million worth of shares. So, syempre, mababuy up mo yung stock. Bibili ka dito, bibili mo yan. So, mas complicated na yun, no? Nasama ko pala dito sa slides. Basta, liquidity, you have to take into consideration of a bigger account. But, let's move on na. Mas complicated na yun eh. Alright guys, sorry. Really, sore throat na. Okay. So, now, here's a common question I want to address, diba? So baka natakpan yung question, no, kasi may mukha ako dyan. But anyway, there's really sa stock market kasi meron yung meron yung mga aggressive buyers and aggressive sellers, tas meron mga strategic buyers and strategic sellers, diba? So here's a tip I want to give to you guys when you're trading or investing. So for example, you want to buy a stock. Tapos let's say you want to buy it, let's say nag-big move siya, sobrang bilis siya gumalaw. You want to buy it kaagad. Sometimes kasi, if you want to buy a fast-moving stock, let's say you want to buy it at 9.41. Di ba? Minsan, nangyayari, di ba? So, type natin, you want to buy 9.41, tapos you enter the amount of shares you want to buy, and then you also put your password. Yung nangyayari is, pagka-click mo na enter, yung presyo, hindi na 9.41, 9.60, kunyari kung mabilis gumalaw. So, ano yung tip dyan? Yung pwede mong gawin, if you want to buy a stock immediately, let's say, you want to buy it kasi mabilis siya gumalaw, or let's say it's moving higher, tas ang bilis ng galaw, gusto mo ma-fill ka agad o ma-execute agad order mo, what you can do is you can place your buy order at a price higher than the ask price available, which is 9.41, diba? So pwede mong gawin, lagay mo 10 pesos. Pag nilagay mo yung buy mo sa 10 pesos, sa 10 pesos ka ba may execute? Hindi. May execute ka sa best ask price. In this case, is 9.41. So if you put 10 pesos, diba? Basta yan, kung mabilis umakyat, say ito, nawala na to, may bumili na, nandito na tayo sa 9.46, may-feel ka pa rin dito. May execute order mo dito. Unlike if nilagay mo 9.41 na order, mabilis mabilis gumalaw yung stock. By the time na enter mo na, wala na, naiwan ka na yung presyo, mas mataas na. And it's actually the same thing pagdating sa selling. Let's say you want to sell a stock immediately. Bakit? Mabagsak, for example. You want to manage your risk, you want to cut your losses. So, same thing, you can do it. So, for example, tama ba? Yeah, for example, dito. Let's say you want to sell it kaagad, aggressive seller ka. Let's say you want to sell it at 9.40. You want to sell it at 9.40, pero mabilis siya bumabagsak. So, instead of, kasi same thing again, if you type 9.40, I want to sell it at 9.40. Kasi seller ka, di ba? So, syempre, ibebenta mo dito sa mga buyers. Pero pagka-enter mo na ng 9.40 order mo, yung presyo, nasa 9.10 na lang. So, pwede mong gawin, if mabilis gumalaw yung stock, diba, lagay mo lang 9 pesos para ma-execute yung order mo at the best bid price, at the best buying price, which is yung pinakauna, yung pinaka sa taas ng table. Na this case is 9.40. So, pag nilagay mo 9 na selling, ma-feel ka dito sa 9.40. Tapos, naman, meron dyan yung mga strategic naman. Yung mga strategic buyers, ito yung mga patient, di ba? Mga gusto mag-bid, gusto pumila, gusto magantay. Let's say, for example, you think that the price right now is 5.19, di ba? But you think the price will still go down to 5.10. Pwede mo gawin, pwede ka pumila dito. Pwede ka pumila dito. Let's say, ito si tropa mong, si number 1, mag-isa lang siya dyan. 5,000 shares pinila niya. Pwede ka rin pumila. So, pwede ka malagay 10,000 shares at 5.10. Magiging 15,000 yan. Kasi yun yung total shares available at that price. Tapos mag-aantay ka na lang na bumagsak yung presyo. Kasi nga, strategic ka. You think based on your strategy, babagsak pa siya na onte, you can get it at a better price. Pwede ganun yung approach. And the same works sa sellers. Sellers, di ba? Let's say strategic seller ka. You don't want to sell it kaagad. You think you can sell it at a better price. Di ba? Again, current price is 5.19. You think na mag-5.29 pa siya. So, dito ka pumila na yung shares na gusto mo ibenta. Parang ganun. Hindi mo kaagad tiyatapon yung shares mo sa bid. O hindi mo kaagad binibenta sa buyers. You're waiting for them to come to you to buy it. Parang ganun. Yun yung concept. So, of course, itong concept ng bid and ask, mahirap siya ituro, no? Especially kung newbie ka pa lang, mahirap ituro. Kasi you really have to experience it and first hand in real life para mag-gets talaga. But hopefully, nakatulong to. Alright. So guys, medyo long lesson, no, but I really had to discuss in detail and give, important lessons, right? So now that you know how the stock market works, the foundation, ba't siya ginawa, how to make money, the opportunities there, why you should invest, and how it's a double-edged sword na we need to do our homework, not blindly invest and manage our risk, and you know the market mechanics, what's next? Diba? So ano lang to, spoiler for the next class, which will be on kasi 'di ba, parang again, sinabi ko na nga, you need to do your homework. You need to learn how to analyze stocks. So how do you do that? So syempre, you need to have forms of analysis, right? And in the next lesson, we're going to be talking about, right, fundamental analysis versus technical analysis, the two common ways of how you can analyze stocks and create your strategies. And para lang hindi ka blindly investing. Right? So that's something that's going to be discussed next. And then the last lesson, so yeah, yun na yung next. Yeah, tama. So, FA versus TA, kumbaga. So, yun lang, guys. If you have any questions on this, well, just, of course, you can ask us in the group. You can send us a message. If you learned a lot, comment down below, no, kung ano mga natutunan nyo. And hopefully, nakatulong to sa inyo, nakaprovide ng value. And that's it for lesson 2.